Hi, it's Paul here from Copy Cognition, and in this video we'll be looking at where to find datasets to use in either your AI content or your handwritten articles if you still write by hand. If you are wondering what the benefits of leveraging a dataset is, then you will find that actually there are quite a number of good reasons as to why you might want to look at using datasets to create your articles, but particularly if you're going to be using platforms such as ChatGTP, which has quite extensive facilities both in terms of plugins and through its own data analysis tool to actually provide some fantastic insights into quite complex data. Now, firstly, one of the main reasons that you might want to do this is that what's going to happen is that you're going to be able to produce far more unique and well-researched article when you've actually finished. More on that later, certainly more on that in future videos, but it's certainly something that you will notice. Secondly, what will happen is that the data sets will allow you to open up new angles you probably haven't even thought of, because AI will, or ChatGTP will provide you with these angles. So for example, here I have a data set which was based on London trees, and after a bit of prompting we got an assessment of the data and it started producing some insights. So we started looking at trees, the spatial distribution of trees through London. It looked at density of trees. It looked at environmental impacts, urban planning, the state of the health of the trees, and environmental things that will, environmental help that trees provide, not just in terms of aesthetics of landscape, but in terms of reducing pollution in the air, etc. And you probably could have thought of most of those yourself, but it helps with GTP produces them for you. And when it does so, it can produce some very interesting insights and provide you with detailed charts and graphs that are going to be unique, and you're not going to find on anybody else's website. Now, why is this important? Well, this comes to the third and probably one of the most important factors, is that the way Google is going, and maybe other search engines, they are not really content with providing 10 sort of identical articles at the top of each search ranking page. They want a little bit of a variety in what they produce. A searcher isn't going to want to look through all 10 articles and find the same information on all 10. Obviously the foundation of the information is going to be the same, but if you can approach things from a different angle and provide unique insights and individual graphics and images, you're going to probably fare a lot better. Particularly, as I said, this has been shown with regard to probably the latest helpful content update that we had a few weeks back, and core update, where a lot of sites who have practiced using tools such as NeuronWrite, Surfer SEO, Phrase, great tools, don't get me wrong, but what they do is they tend to produce similar sort of articles because everybody's sort of leveraging the same keywords, leveraging the same sort of images, often even the same, without much variety, subsections and sections inside the article. And so, there's nothing particularly new that a researcher is going to get from clicking on sort of result 1 and result 5. So why should Google rank you? Is they're basically saying if I've got 30 articles the same. And they're tending now to have a little bit more diversity. You can see it the way that they're producing their search results, and obviously they're obviously the new search system that's going to come into operation probably next year, which is in beta at the moment, generative search. You can see where the future's going. So it's a bit of individuality and some unique information is going to help you. So that's really a very good reason for using datasets, because what datasets provide you with is accurate information, no more hallucinations from a ChatGTP. If they don't know the answer, you've got the information inside the dataset. You keep it tight to the data that you've got. Get ChatGTP to analyze it and come up with some insights, and then build an article around that. Obviously, this is going to be a video series by which we're going to go through each of these processes. The purpose of this video is just to explain why you want datasets and where you can find them. Finally, there's one other reason that you might want to think about datasets, because obviously data, can be quite immense. This particular dataset was absolutely huge. It contained 820,000 entries, which is a lot. And you open up the CSV file and you're slightly overwhelmed. I don't know what they were, 17 columns or something, 17 columns, and they just took the 5 rows when they did their initial analysis. But that's a lot of data, and what you'll also find is the data is often incomplete, and it varies in the way it's presented. So in this particular data, for example, they had the species of trees were sometimes given just as something like maple, other times it would be Norwegian maple, or you get the drift. So it's very difficult to classify these sort of things, so you have to go through and clean up the data, which is going to be the next video that we make, because that's the first stage when you start doing data analysis, is cleaning it up. But the principle is getting the data, and that's what we're looking at really here. So we'll concentrate on that for the minute. But it does provide, but if once you've got the data and you've built the article, what you often find is when you have interesting graphics like this, so you can have interactive heat maps, all sorts of things can be produced using the right plugins that ChatGTP has. You can write an extensive and high quality article, and then you can sort of canvas news outlets if it's local news. So for example, here this was particularly about London. We will do, I think eventually we will look to canvas sort of local area newspapers where there's some information about their trees, or they have come out particularly well with regard to some of the the analysis that ChatGTP throws up. You'll probably find, or quite often find, that these sort of local newspapers, or even national newspapers, or magazines, or niche site leaders will quite often, as I said, put your article, or write an article about what you've written, or even quote what you've written, so that they can provide something for their readers. I mean, obviously you will, before you approach them, make sure that they might be interested in this sort of thing. Do a quick search on their own websites will tell you, whether or not this would be an article they might be wanting to write. But let's just say, for example, we could show that one of the boroughs in London was particularly good or had a particularly large number of rare varieties of trees. It could well be that the local newspaper in that borough might be interested in that sort of information. But that sort of information isn't readily available unless one analyzes the whole of the data set. So that's just one example. Of course, if they do and provide you links, what you're going to end up with is a lot more credibility, particularly when it comes to things like EEAT, which is now becoming quite dominant in how a site actually ranks. If you get your name quoted, then you get your site quoted. You're delivering a good footprint for your EEAT. Not only also that you're going to provide these news sites or magazine sites that tend to be quite powerful. You're going to obviously boost your own domain as well in the process. So there are multiple reasons, as you can see, for taking into account and using datasets to produce articles. But as I said, the question then is, so you've given me good reasons. Where are we going to find datasets?